Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, everyone. I'm the godfather of psychic mediums, Chris George, and I'm joined by my gifted and beautiful co-host, River Wildfire Moon, and the absolutely amazing Victor the Voice Fireman. It is Friday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we want to welcome you all to the Paranormal Lounge. It's the place where you can come in, kick back, and join some of the best parapsychic talk anywhere. We have an amazing guest tonight, Michelle Arbeau, an outstanding numerologist, and we're going to get to her in just a few minutes. But we have an amazing agenda as well tonight. We do have a few questions from our listeners for Victor and River and myself, and Michelle could answer any questions she likes as well. But before we get on with the show, guys, you know, last week we had on Chuck Banks, and he's a longtime listener of the show. He's an author, all around a really great guy. Always in our chat room, and he was our guest last week. And, you know, Victor, what did you think of our guest last week?
Oh, it was great to finally meet Chuck and have him on, talk about some of the experiences he's had and the hauntings that he's had. But, you know, we had Chuck on last week, and we have Sirloin on this week also, Chris, right?
Yes, we sure do. We sure do. And I'm eating it really, really well. So, River, how about you? What did you think of our guest last week?
I thought he was really down to earth, a really nice guy, and I really enjoyed his enthusiasm for the awakening process, you know, coming into the paranormal, and he was very excited about that, and I always enjoy that.
Yeah, you know, whenever somebody's so excited to be on our show, it gets us excited, you know, and he was legitimately excited about being on our show, and, you know, you said that he was down to earth, and that was something that I really liked about him, because being in the paranormal world, you know, I know a lot of people that are paranormal investigators, and a lot of them have that, like, chip on their shoulder, that attitude. They got to be badass and all that. And that's not who he is. And, you know, he's just a nice guy. He goes about his business the right way, and I just thought he was a really great guest and a really great guy.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so, listen, guys, you know, we every week we take questions from our listeners. They send them to me. River, Victor, does anybody ever send you guys questions?
No, Chris, I think you make these up.
No, I would never do something like that. That hurts my feelings. But anyway, the first question is for River. And River, your question comes from Johnny Teenyweeny. And Mr. Teenyweeny wants to know, what's the best way to get over fearing something?
Fearing something?
Fearing, you know, how the best way to get over something that you fear. And I would like you to address him as Mr. Teenyweeny.
No, I won't do that. And those we do know you make up, Chris, but they're charming at this point. And let's see here. It depends on what the fear is. You know, if it's something absolutely dangerous, I may not recommend it at all. Okay, but if it's a common everyday thing and it's just something new and you want to do it, just dabble. You know, try. You know, life is short, so fear is for me a waste of time. I think you have to somehow kind of channel your inner ninja, and sometimes you really got to go at things and not be so afraid. And that's, you know, dispelling fear is difficult. It can take a lifetime for some individuals for certain situations. So just keep at it and keep going. That's what I would do.
And Victor, would you like to answer that as well?
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I'm out of it tonight.
I know you are. What's the best way to get over fearing something?
Face it. Whatever it might be, confront it head on. And a lot of times my philosophy, and I've shared this with others, is that whatever I've preconceived in my imagination about a situation is so much simpler in reality when you face it. So
yeah, many times that's absolutely the truth. And Michelle, would you like to weigh in on this question?
Well, about fear? Oh, my goodness. You know, I went from being an introvert to an extrovert, so I can tell you right now, you know, it can be done. So if I could do it, anybody could do it. And I think one of the things I just want to say is that society says that our emotions are not reliable. And I think that, you know, if you look at someone and they say, well, you're just being irrational because you're emotional. And I truly don't believe that. I believe that our emotions are our navigation system, and that when we feel something that is fearful or we feel something that isn't right, then we should really pay attention to that, because it is true that it's not good for us. So really what it boils down to is intuition and feeling like, is this right or is this wrong? So it is all about feeling and not about rational thought. The mind is more of a tool for the feelings, if you ask me.
Love it.
And biologically, fear is a response. We are built to have fear of situations that are dangerous to us. But the fear, and those are natural fears and those are good fears because they keep us on our feet and make sure we protect ourselves and do the right thing. But there are also fears that we create in our minds, for example, the fear of losing a relationship, the fear of making a wrong choice or decision. And a lot of those are normally based on the conditioning we have as children. And that's why I say confront them and face them and then move on.
Absolutely. Great answers, guys. Okay, now the next one, Victor, this one is for you. And this comes from Paula Pounder. And Paula would like to know, what happens when we die if we were awful in life? That's a pretty good question.
You know what, Chris? I believe that the afterlife is something that we create in our life. And for those who have been miserable in life, sometimes we're miserable in death until we learn our lessons and we rectify and get straightened out again. They say that each person's heaven or hell is individually created, and I believe that to be the case. That whatever we preconceive, as you think, you shall, as you reap, you shall sow, or as you sow, you shall reap, or something like that.
Well, Victor, I got to tell you, that is exactly the way I would have answered that question because that's actually what has been told to me by spirit. So I agree with you 100%. River, would you like to answer that question as well?
Yeah, I'm right there with the two of you. I've heard lots of different things from spirit on the other side. I've had some conflict between spirits before, so it's no big surprise. I always say I'm never going to know until I get there. I still have wonders and I'm curious about things, but I suspect that's probably the case. And they do think that we probably have to write things lifetime after lifetime or reincarnation after reincarnation, however long it takes. So, yeah, that would be.
And here's my heaven. She's right here with the both of us, Chris. Menage a trois.
Oh, my. You're out of control, Victor. You know what? I think you do need a nap. But, Michelle, would you like to answer that question as well, or do you want to skip?
Oh, no, I don't want to skip this one. I've died 3 times now. So
okay, well, bring it on, girl.
I'm a cat with 9 lives. So, I definitely do believe that what Victor said is true, and I've listened to other people's near-death experiences, and I've experienced my own 3 different times in 3 different ways, and it was because I was in different points in my life. For example, when I was 4, I felt such bliss and love and peace and bright light, warmth, seeing these energetic beings beside me, that kind of thing, because I was just a child. And then the 2 near-death experiences that I had as an adult were vastly different. It doesn't mean that they weren't as positive, but they were different. Like I had the life review that people say that you have when you die. And I saw everything from a different vantage point, from a different view than I would have seen it in this lifetime. And the last one that I had was also another scenario where I saw it being as layers. So I saw it as a layer of numbers, a layer of sacred geometry, which I don't even really know anything about, and then also 2 layers of my reality as it is now, but one was pristine, like everything was perfect, sterile, nothing was out of place, and then the other layer was disheveled like it is in reality, in my reality. And so each near-death experience was different, and it was because, like Victor was saying, we create our own reality minute by minute. And so where I was in that stage of my life when I had the near-death experiences mattered because it showed me a different viewpoint of what my reality would be like if I did cross over. And so it just was a really big eye-opener for me in terms of what really the afterlife is. And I truly believe that as well. I believe that we are creating, because we are consciousness. And it doesn't matter if we're in a physical form or we're not in a physical form. We're still consciousness, and we're still creating that energy, and we're still creating our reality, whether we have a human body or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, I just wanted to bring something to you and get your take on it. A couple of weeks back on our other show, Second Sight, we had a gentleman by the name of Frank Babajogbe, and he is a Santerian priest, and he was saying that in Santeria and in the practice that they have, that in actuality everything is like binary code. He says they believe that the universe is a series of zeros and ones. What's your take on that?
Oh my goodness. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And I'm the most practical person you will ever meet. I'm the person that says, show me, give me a break. I'm so practical that I tell people all the time that, they meet me and they think that I'm going to be this turban-wearing psychic, and I'm like, no, show me the Bentley. That's me. I'm so physical and practical, and I'm in my body because I have all the physical plane numbers, so I know what it's like to be a soul in human form. I know that we need these bodies to accomplish what we want to accomplish. And, I definitely think that numbers are such a huge factor in the universe. I always tell people that I intuitively feel like if we could pull back the fabric of the universe, it would be like a digital type code, or like you say, that binary code, because it is true. I mean, the 1 and the 0 is exactly right. I mean, he is so bang on, because the 1 is the first physical number. It is the standalone number. It is the number of the ego. It is the number that says we are in physical form, we are separate. And then the 0 is a symbol of the infinite or spiritual awareness. It is the soul. And so it is like heaven and earth. The 1 is earth and the 0 is heaven. And so it is like the spiritual world and the physical world coming together. And that is exactly right. That is the binary code, and that is what the world is built upon. And I'm actually writing a book called The God Frequency. The word God is really a word, and I'm not religious in any form or fashion. And the word God really shows us why we're all here, regardless of path or purpose. And there are actually 54 different codes or 54 different energetic patterns or pathways that we can use to build our reality, and they're all based on numbers. What's really interesting is he also said that some of the spell work that they do numerically are in 16, 32, and 64 pieces, which is just like computer code. Yes. I mean, we are really, in essence, they were looking for aliens, or they were looking for some sort, and maybe there is. I mean, I've never seen it myself, so it's like show me kind of thing. But I truly believe that we have this almost alienistic type quality to us as well, because we're built on this mathematical equation. This whole thing is like one big petri dish or science experiment in its own way. It really is. I mean, it's so boiling down to, and that's why there's so many synchronicities happening right now, and why so many people are experiencing synchronicities, because we're seeing these binary codes, we're seeing these energetic patterns, we're seeing all of these things coming front and center, and then all of a sudden we become or these things that attract these patterns.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Outstanding. Great answer. All right, the next question is for me, and it's from David. You ever notice how the people who ask me questions have normal names? I don't know why that is, but anyway, David wants to know, where do I go when I'm channeling? Where do I go? That's a great question. I've actually spoken about this many times. I do different forms of channeling, and within trance channeling, which is what I do, I could do it one of two ways. I could be very present when I'm doing it, like when I do a healing circle and I'm channeling spirit, I'm very present because I want to see the effect that what is coming through me is having on people. I really like to be part of that. It's usually, it just feels good, and I like to see what's going on. And then there's when I do trance channeling during like a seance, I kind of just leave the whole, I honestly don't know where I go, but I know I'm not present. And the reason I do that is because, and Victor's heard me say this many times, during a seance, I feel that, I have to give myself up to spirit completely and not influence anything that's going to come out of my mouth, because then the seance isn't pure in my book. So I feel like I'm supposed to give myself up completely to spirit and not alter anything that they want to say, because there are things that spirit says sometimes that I would never, ever allow to come out of my mouth, ever. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like if I do that, I'm disrespecting spirit, first of all, by not letting them say what they want to say. And again, it just makes the whole seance not as pure as I think it's supposed to be. So that's my answer to that.